country, but according to the latest figures, houses in Dublin are now on the rise.
Well, what's behind this country-city divide, and is the gap likely to grow? Here to tell us more, Angela Keegan from myhome.ie and Carl Dieter of Irish Mortgage Brokers and columnist with The Sun on Sunday. Thank you both for coming in to us today.
Thank you.
These are the CSO figures.
Yes.
The monthly and the latest ones show, while there has been a big decline in Dublin year on year, prices are actually stabilising in the capital, Angela.
This is the second month that we've seen this trend in Dublin, and I suppose it has to be said overall the CSO is reporting that prices are down 1.1% in the month, that being the first thing. But in Dublin in the month of April, the CSO are reporting that prices are actually up by 0.5%, and that's on the back of no price drop in Dublin in the month of March. So while I think it's a good sign and I would certainly welcome it, I would also err on the side of caution and say the CSO figures just take into consideration purchases with a mortgage attached to them, and if you're talking to estate agents these days, they'll tell you that at least a third of purchases are from cash buyers. So while it is a positive sign, I still would sound a word of caution.
Okay, all right. But compared to the rest of the country, Carl, there's still declines going on.
Yeah, we kind of have a different vista depending on where you are, and I think that obviously what happens is a city tends to have more transactions, so you actually get your price discovery a little bit quicker. Because of that, the index will reflect the dropping price in built-up areas where more things are happening faster. I think it probably is a case that it'll be a game of catch-up, and I would also say that anywhere that turns first, in my opinion at least, would be cities where you have higher demand, where you don't have an endless supply of 2 and 3 bed semi-detached and detached homes for sale. A lot of the stock out there is apartments. It's very difficult to actually get anything from the figures when you break it down to a neighbourhood by neighbourhood basis. On that, then you've got to swap and go the other way and start speaking to local estate agents to kind of get the transactions that they do have or the anecdotal evidence. I think though, and I'm going to throw caution to the wind on my answer. I think that certainly for Dublin City, within the M50, that your 3 and 4 bed semi-Ds and detached houses, that if you were to look at one of those now and come back in 5 years, that you were saying, I'm going to hold off or buy, that you'll have thought that it was probably a better time now rather than later.
Right, okay, so you're saying it's a good time to buy. It's a good time to start looking around and hedging your bets.
Yeah, I've said property was a banger for a long, long time, and that if you were buying a house, you've got to probably get your head looked at. And that was, 2007, 8, 9, 10, right through 2011. I've now turned our view, certainly what we're telling our clients, and that's on the investment front as well, that we think that there's opportunity out there. You've got to negotiate strong, find somewhere that makes sense, do your figures, but it is no longer a situation now where I would imagine that over the long term that you're kind of guaranteed to lose. That doesn't mean you're guaranteed to win, but certainly the very adverse scenario is behind us in the opinion of our firm.
Now, if we're looking at a twin scenario here, and is it just a case that it's a good time to buy in Dublin, or nationwide is it a good time to start looking? Are we going to see that trend that's in Dublin? Is that an indicator of the national trend, do you think, Angela?
I think we see obviously the trend in Dublin first, and Carl alluded to it. You'll see it in the urban areas before you'll see it within the rural areas. I certainly think there's excellent value for money out there, and I think for somebody that the time is right for them to be looking for a new home and for buying. I think absolutely the time is right for them to look, whether that be in Dublin or whether that be in the country. When I say I err on the side of caution, what I would be saying is I would still be expecting at the end of this year that overall we will be reporting a price drop. Because we've seen Dublin seeing slight signs of stabilisation over the last couple of months, really good news, and we're delighted to see it, and it absolutely is a sign of something. I still think overall the property market probably has a little way to go. But in saying that, there is excellent value for money out there, and I think if people are willing to negotiate, vendors and purchasers, I think, and we are seeing on our own site, we're seeing a lot more viewings. We're seeing, we've a lot more visitors to the site. We're seeing open viewings are well up. We're seeing more transactions happening. So there is definitely a change happening within the market.
You've got to remember as well that when markets crash, they tend to overcorrect. When markets boom, they tend to overshoot. And as a matter of fact, a recent central bank paper stated that we have already overshot by between 12 and 26%.
Yeah.
Now, if you trust,
ask you that, could this be part of the rise?
It could be effectively what they refer to as reversion to the mean. which in normal language means getting back to, you know, business as usual, I think that probably will cause a bit of a run-up when prices do turn, and that as they reach that, people will start to do various studies to say, oh, we're back to fair value now. And then really what you want to do is just try and keep it there. But very few people have ever figured out how to do that. I can't think of any country anywhere in the world that ever figured out how to get the property market right, which is why the history of property is the history of boom bust. And we're actually headed into another one unless somehow we magically figure out how to not do it all over again.
Okay. You mentioned 3 4-bedroom houses in and around Dublin city area, where we've seen this slight growth.
Yes.
Has the growth occurred for those who are living in apartments?
It's actually interesting when you look at the CSO figures. The CSO figures indicate that there's been a slight increase in the price of apartments as well. There are a lot of apartments on the market, and most certainly those in, again, I think a lot of it boils down to location and access to amenities and services, etc. There is still an oversupply of apartments in a lot of areas, but again, it does boil down to location, and it does boil down to you know, the quality of the build and the quality of the area. But we are definitely seeing some apartments beginning to move.
Okay.
Okay. A quick look now at the couple of properties of the week we have now. It's not an apartment. This is a doer-upper, it's been described as in Dublin. Tell us a little bit about this one, Angela.
This is one Lisney have brought to the market. This is on Fergus Road in Drumcondra, and I would describe this property as, you know, renovate or detonate, because it's absolutely.
I haven't actually heard that expression before. That's the first thing
we'll all be using it now.
I've stolen it from an estate agent in Australia, but it really is. It's on the market for 100 grand, and it's 800 square foot house that really is in rag order. It's an executor sale. It's going for auction on the 27th of June. Terrific location, just off Home Farm Road, so you've easy access to DCU, to you know, to everywhere.
City Centre.
Dublin City Centre. So I think that'll really appeal to the investor market. Might be too much for first-time buyer, but really good home.
Yeah, and but a little more than cosmetic work needed there.
I tell you, the walls are cracked in it. I don't.
It's like a rebuild.
I don't exaggerate when I say, you know,
a lot of work.
A doer-upper is under calls. Let's
Well,
just
at
say.
that kind of price in that part of a city,
great value.
It's fantastic value. If you look at that part of the city, I just checked this morning, a house around the corner from there rented very recently for €1,000 a month.
Okay.
And that's the asking price on that house is 100,000. Put, you know, 40, 50,000 into it. May not even need to put that much into it, and you're still into a decent yield.
Just very quickly, you've picked out a place in Cork as well.
I did. I picked out a nice place in Cork, in Glanmire in Cork, in Castlejane. I picked this one out. I felt it was a very well-priced house. It's very much aimed at the first-time buyer. It's a 3-bed, really good-sized 3-bed house, really good location, and I felt very well-priced for the area it was in compared to other properties in the estate that would be for sale. So. That one is, yes, recently gone on the market. As you can see, not overlooked at the back, good sized garden, and I think a first-time buyer could really put their stamp on it.
Great. Angela and Carl, some good news there on the property front today, so it's all good. Thanks for coming in, as always. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Now, after the break, I'll be hearing stories from some of the everyday heroes nominated for the Carer of the Year Awards.
And we'll be meeting a lady who dreaded her husband turning the big 50.